Good evening. Good evening. Let's have a session tonight as we, will be starting our trust masterclass. That will be happening on a monthly basis, where we going through different types of principles around trust. Trust are instruments that are becoming very topical. So I think it would be ideal that we tackled them and to ensure that we are aligned. Just for housekeeping, let's make sure that our videos are off. Yes, and you are muted. And then you raise your hand if you want to ask questions. I'll allow questions at the end of the day. If you don't switch off your video, I'm going to remove you without a warning. It's as simple as that, and we get going. Okay. Now, let's have fun. Let's engage. And thank you so much for joining me. As we took the housekeeping out of the way, there are a few things that I just want to share with you. Maybe some of them I'm going to just share with you just now. For some of you guys are aware that we've launched what we call financial wellness activist ecosystem. And this is an exclusive membership that those who are interested in being part of the ecosystem will subscribe and join it. Sure. Maybe some of them I'm gonna just share with you just now. Okay, my apologies. So what we have here, it's basically what we call financial wellness activist. I'm just gonna scan through it quickly so that if you're not familiar with what we have, you are aware going forward, before we jump into the principles of trust. So we started what we call financial wellness ecosystem. So it's a WhatsApp group, it's a membership, and but then there are activities going forward. And you'll understand why we're starting that. It's precisely that we're going on a journey with like-minded individuals about the principles of financial wellness. And we are going to make certain content exclusive, certain events exclusive, certain monthly support exclusive for those individuals. And one of the reasons why we are doing that is precisely what we're saying in the welcome messages when we say, why is it wealth for most people does not get to the second generation? You and I can agree that we work so much hard on a daily basis in creating wealth. But the reality is that most of us, the wealth is not going to reach the next generation. Or even worse, 90% to 99% of wealth that we're making right now is not going to reach the third generation. Why is it the case? There's just so much variables that causes that. And one of them is tax. That is just a reality. One of them is tax. One of them is contracts that we tend to sign as wealth creators. Therefore, the financial wellness activist ecosystem is exactly that. We're trying to deal with these two animals, to say, how do we deal with these animals to ensure that the wealth that we're creating is we create wealth, we preserve, and we transfer to the next generation. Well, obviously within that also assisting our members in creating wealth. And you will know that our formation was around property investing, and that's precisely where it's going to anchor this ecosystem. So if you want to join this ecosystem, you're more than welcome to reach out to me anytime, through WhatsApp, through email addresses, anywhere you can get a hold of us, you're more than welcome. Okay, the message is simple. Preserving wealth takes a wit, while creating it takes wisdom. You'll agree with me that in order to create wealth, it's not the same way, the same thinking or the same principles that you will actually employ similar to you creating wealth. They're completely different, And as a result, we need to ask ourselves on how do we go about preserving that. In so doing, as tax edu ZA, we play our humble role by ensuring the financial literacy skills of our members are polished. And in doing so, we update and provide them with tools through access to our senior personnel, various experts training, and customers risk assessments. You'll see that what we'll also be doing if you join certain activist level, we'll be ensuring that on a yearly basis, you undergo an estate planning, because what we've noticed is that most of us, we don't even undergo estate planning, and upon our death, our families don't even know where our wealth is sitting. You join stokvels, you take on other investment that upon your death, families don't even know. Or for that matter, even yourself, you don't even know where your wealth is sitting, because we get so much overwhelmed that we end up not even missing our wealth. Okay, so we are actually removing that stigma. On an annual basis, there will be those financial wellness workshops. You will see that we've got various wellness workshops. If you're in Cape Town, Durban, and across all these major cities in the country, we'll be running all these financial wellness workshops to ensure that our wealth is preserved. So if you are a member of a certain category of financial wellness activist ecosystem, you will be eligible to attend one of those financial wellness workshop. Okay, we aim to offer our members investment opportunities for an easy wealth creation journey. It's exactly that. You'll get those privileges of creating wealth because we're partnering with people that are actively looking for opportunities, and we're going to make them exclusive to our members. Only when we can't raise money will then extend this wealth to the outside what you call ecosystem. So as long as you're within our ecosystem, you'll get the privilege of getting these things firsthand. You will understand that you and I can agree that finding bankable deals is not as easy as we all think it is, okay? Above all, we are building an ecosystem of financial wellness activists. That's exactly that. We want to ensure that what we're going to build, all these people are going to ensure that someone says they can you guys tap if you can hear me? If you can hear me, just tap, then it means the issue is with Vin. Vin, you might want to exit and rejoin us, okay? So that's exactly the welcome message for those who wants to participate in the financial wellness activist ecosystem. So I encourage you to take your step back and actually, so I'm able to hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much, Vigile. So it means Vin, the issues with you. So you might want to exit and rejoin again. Okay. So there's about 3 categories. The simpler one, it's a 300 membership fee, where on a monthly basis, on as and when we've got deals, we'll be hosting what you call deal analysis, assessment, masterclasses, running the numbers, evaluations of those particular deals. Those who attended our inaugural deal assessment masterclass, you will know that what we're talking about. Going forward, those masterclasses are exclusive to our members only. So you guys from the general WhatsApp group, you're no longer having access to those masterclasses. We also, those opportunities that we present during the masterclass, deal analysis masterclass, are only going to be exclusive to those members to say, listen, here's a deal. Are you interested? If the guys are no longer interested, then only the general WhatsApp group is going to have access to these opportunities. On a regular basis, we're going to be having expert masterclasses. Like for instance, next week, in collaboration with EDPF, we are bringing in the masterclass that I'll be presenting on a certain exclusive content. Those people who will be attending that masterclass next week on Wednesday, it's exclusive. Only those who will be invited from us. It will be those that are member of this ecosystem. Unfortunately, that's how it's going to work. So this is category 1. If you just want to be, and I think the main thing here, someone will be wanting to learn about certain developments out there, upskilling themselves over and above that, positioned themselves so that when there are investment opportunities, property investment opportunities, then they get to get those benefits. Then these other benefits, unfortunately, then they don't get eligible to get like 10% discount on financial wellness workshop. They don't get it because they don't fall within the applicable category. There's also those update masterclass where there's like technical things that we feel that our members should be getting. They're not going to get it because they're not within that. There's also that 50 minutes monthly support. They are not going to get it here. Then annual estate planning consultation, because we don't want our activists to be part of this ecosystem, but you find that doesn't even have a wheel. They don't even update their wheels on a regular basis. So now, if you want to get everything outside except annual estate planning consultation, then you can take on the 700 membership. You can take on that. And then you also get that 10% discount on financial wellness workshop. For instance, Johannesburg, we've got a financial wellness workshop that is coming up on the 22nd and 23rd. You'll get 10% discount. Those who are in Cape Town on the 24th of June, we've got a financial wellness workshop coming up. Now, there's what we call ultimate activist. The ultimate activist gets everything. In fact, they even get one financial wellness workshop. For instance, if you're a member of these, then it means you don't have to pay for the financial wellness workshop that is coming up, but you only get one per year. So which I feel to me is sufficient enough to attend one financial wellness workshop per year, where you literally for 2 days, you meet with like-minded individuals. This is where you're going to build relationships, you strengthen relationships, and you also have 15 minutes support with me, and where you can have access to me. I can support you. I can introduce you to some of our resources. You also have annual estate planning consultation where we review entirely your life and to ensure that you are actually, this is an ultimate one. So over and above with all these sessions, that these packages will be inviting our members to activities exclusive to them only the members. No more, no outside. We only invite them. We will do various activities, meeting for breakfast quietly, getting engaging, inviting captains of industry, executives out there. What we used to call mentors chair. So we are only now exclusively, for those who are familiar with mentors chair that we hosted as CEO of Black Business Council last year, we'll only be inviting these guys who are within our ecosystem. And then we'll be meeting captains of industry, quietly be mentored by various people and quietly engaging with others and seeking business opportunities out there. So that is what it's gonna go beyond just this. This is just an entry point. We're going to be looking what are empowerment deals that are out there. How do we get opportunity to those? We're gonna be speaking to funders. What are the opportunities? What frustration? And how do we unlock bottlenecks? Why our deals are not going over the lines? If you're participating in certain deals and you're struggling to get your deals over the line, how do I assist you with my resources? And can I go with you to those meetings and assist you to unlock those opportunities? We'll only be focusing on these guys that are part of the ecosystem. That's the support that we're going to go beyond to say, if you've got a deal, we say, but you're struggling, why your deal is not go over the line? No, Shillyboy, I don't have any equity. Okay, sharp. Let me see what I can support you on. Who can I call? Who do we know that has the resources that can help enable you to go over the line? We all know one of the biggest challenges in property sector, it's the ability to come up with equity. So we're taking it upon. So I'm only going to be assisting people that are ecosystem, they're vested, they're investing in themselves, and they're taking themselves serious. That is exactly why we're creating this financial wellness activist ecosystem. So that's about that. So let's jump on to one of the main thing why we're here. It's exactly the presentation on trust, the principles of trust. Okay. So maybe let's go on. If you want to engage on the matters of financial wellness activists, you're more than welcome to ask questions during the Q&A sessions. And also you're more than welcome to to WhatsApp me. Let's have a chat. And yeah, we are moving forward. We're going to be supporting guys and we're creating wealth. We're not looking back anymore. So thank you so much. And let's get going. It's about trust. I'm going to try to simplify the trust where I can. so that it doesn't get technical. A trust, guys, shouldn't scare people. A trust shouldn't make you feel overwhelmed. What is a trust? Why trust exists vis-a-vis company? Why foundation? Why stokvels? Why NGOs? Why NPOs? Why limited companies? Why partnerships? All those things, guys, are instruments, right? Tomorrow, someone else, smart kid who's sitting in some corner, is going to come up with an instrument, another instrument. I can assure you that, right? These are instruments that smart people over the years come up with in order to hold their wealth or to use to create their wealth. And that's exactly one of the foundation that you need to understand. So what you need to understand is that as these animals get created, it can start as a basic things over the years, because people question and, you know, say, well, but why can't it be like this? For instance, now, trust, there have been a lot of amendments that popped up for those who are having trust and they are already trustees. You'll agree with me, even last year in December, our president enacted certain laws in response to money laundering and to strengthen our money laundering legislations. They strengthen certain changes, even companies, they strengthen, like for those who are familiar with the changes around CIPC, there've been changes around that, around certain compliance, on beneficial ownership and all these things, similar to trust. So as time goes, these animals or these instruments, they take different shape, right? So that's what you should, that's why these things should not overwhelm you. They're just instruments to help you to create, preserve, and transfer wealth. It's as simple as that. So you need to then say, okay, if all these instruments exist out there, what instrument is ideal for me to create, preserve, and transfer wealth? That's what you need to ask yourself. That's why trust is not ideal for everyone. That's why company is not ideal for everyone. That's why partnership is not ideal for everyone. That's why joint venture agreements are not ideal for everyone. Right? Would you agree with me? That's exactly what I'm saying. So you need to start by saying, is this thing ideal for me? Right? That's how you need to interpret these things. Why do you need a trust? What other alternatives do you have that can actually resolve what you are trying to resolve? That's what you need to ask yourself. Right? That's how you're going to get to an ideal, so that even when you have trust, if at the end you decide that you want to have a trust as a family, you'll understand how trust is aligned with you. You understand? That's why you're going to be able to know how trusts are aligned to you. Because why? Because you took your variables, you took your circumstances, and you aligned, and you'll know how you're going to use that particular trust. And that's why an annual estate planning consultation are so crucial, because our circumstances, guys, changes. Kids leave the country, by the way. What happens if your kids leave the country? How would then you having your kids who says, Daddy, Mommy, I want to go and work in South Korea? How many of us seen our peers now leaving the country going to work overseas? Others are teaching English in South Korea and China. What happens if you fall in love, your child fall in love in whatever the country overseas, and they decide not to come back to the country? How would that have an impact in the family trust? How would we externalize and distribute the money? Let's say we've got rental property, we've got a property is generating rental income, or for that matter, we bought shares in this particular trust and then we get dividends. Now we've got a child who's based in South Korea. By the way, your kids are going to leave the country. It's just a reality. If they haven't, your kids are going to be global citizens. You and I might not be global citizens, but the chances are some of you guys who are sitting here, your kids are, if are not already overseas, your kids are going to go overseas. Now, the question then you should be asking yourself is like, how do I then make sure that my trust is able to accommodate this kid and we're able to externalize money? That's why an annual estate planning consultation is crucial, guys. You can never, ever have wealth and not assess your circumstances on a yearly basis. In fact, those who have a lot of money, they do that on a regular basis, if not every month, but every quarterly. So that's one of the principles. Okay. Now, I already said it earlier that these are instruments. When we were growing up, for those who remember, they used to call these things called sole trader. You know, you'll have this building in your villages or in townships. It used to be called so and so sole trader. The other one will be so and so CC. You know, you remember those days. Others, they'll be called general dealers. You remember the general dealers? These are instruments. Where are they now? Disappeared, right? People these days, the one that I can say is still sustaining, is still resilient, it's a sole trader, because how many of us have got side hustles in our names? We're sole traders. We just don't call ourselves sole traders, but we are technically sole traders based on legality, right? We still generate. And what are our responsibilities being sole traders? The common one that seems to be also resilient is companies. Companies exist. They're there. The biggest one in the country is companies. The biggest instrument that you and I, most of the time, the professional run affairs, most of us, when we think of instruments, we think of a company. It's well matured. There's a lot of references. There's a lot of laws. You know, there's a lot of systems around it. It's companies. Trust, a fairly new thing. They're old, but have been neglected in terms of development. Let me put it that correctly. They're very, very, very old. However, they've been neglected. And it's what we're seeing recently, that there's a huge attention around trust in terms of development of legislations. There's a lot of changes around it. There's a lot of attentions from government. There's a lot of attentions from SARS. There's a lot of attentions on how trust, there's a professionalism that is happening around trust. And I'm not going to be surprised when in future we're going to start seeing trust also being one of those professional, similar to companies, because there's a lot of growth around that. Because the likes of REITs also, they sometimes take a shape of trust, right? Real estate investment trust. You'll understand that. The famous REITs, right? Then there's one that they've been coined called the SPV. It's not a recognizable thing, but it's just articulating that it's a special purpose vehicle. It could be a company, it could be a trust, it could be a partnership, but it's been designed or created for specific reasons. Just hold on. Just hold on. I see that the lighting is switching off. I need to switch off something. There we go. Okay. Cool. We live in a load-shedded place, so things are no longer functioning as we used to. So I've got load shedding where I am. So I had to make a means of having lighting. Okay. Now, these are some of the instruments that some of you guys are going to come across. And what you'll notice as you're becoming very serious in property sector and building these huge portfolios, and you're raising money from capital markets like pension funds, you might find yourself starting to form things like partnerships. That's what you're going to start seeing. And there's tax reasons for that. The issue of flow through and all these things, fancy tax principles that comes with partnerships. Okay, so it's not relevant for some of you guys who have, I don't know if you're already raising funds from pension funds. you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and then we can speak on taxes and things like that. But for the sake of context, let's move on. Okay. But if you are investing with pension funds, speak to me. We can structure your deals nicely. Okay. Now maybe let's zoom into. I gave you these contexts, the types of things that you can think of. Others, you guys are already members of stokvels and things like that. So funds, technical funds that are out there. Some of them might be falling within FSCAs. They take a shape of limited partnership and general partnerships. All those fancy advanced structures that we find there. But tonight, let's zoom into trust. Okay. Now, what is this animal called trust? Okay. You and I can know that a trust in South Africa can be formed through a will. You say, upon death, I want to bequeath everything to a trust to be formed. It's what we call testamentary trust, right? That is get formed with a will. So how's that done? So your will becomes so detailed that in such a way that is the instrument that is going to be utilized to form a trust upon your death. And those type of trusts, it's very, very difficult to even change those clauses, right? Yes, so the trustees, and that's why you need to be getting a proper drafters. Whoever's going to draft that will must know what they're doing. Okay. But what you're going to come across, you and I, that you participate, is what we call living trust, inter vivos trust, right? These are living trusts. These are trusts that you form while you're still alive. So you'll have a founder, and then you'll have beneficiaries. Who are these beneficiaries? Most of the time, these living trusts are discretionary trusts. That what we mean discretionary trust. It means that the distributions and the vesting of trust estate, the trust wealth, is dependent on the decision that by the trustees. Okay? It's decided by the trust. Hence, it's the discretion of the trustees to either decide on who they distribute the trust wealth to. So understand that what we mean by the discretionary trust. The control and the ownership in terms of law in the country as it stands is bestowed to the trustee. So which means that technically, who owns the property? The properties of the trust are owned by the trustees because a trust in South Africa does not have a legal persona. Okay? It doesn't have legal persona. So we don't see trust in South Africa. We see trustees. It's a very funny thing. It's a very funny thing. But we see trustees. We sign, we sue trustees. We agree with trustees, not the trust. It does not exist, doesn't have persona, doesn't have legal persona in South Africa. And make it that clear. Why I'm saying make it that clear? Make it clear because when you are a trustee, I'm seeing some very weird, someone joining, so like some weird link, we end up being, anyway, let's go on. When you are a trustee, it requires you, right? It requires you to understand that. It means that because the trust estate is bestowed, it's owned and controlled, the ownership is controlled by it's owned and controlled by the trustees. It means that the trustees cannot act, as a trustee alone, you can't act alone. You can't. You must act jointly. And that's very, very important. Doesn't mean that because when you're a founder of the trust, you're going to do as you please. It doesn't work that way. Because by law, But by the way, the fact that you control your own doesn't mean you can benefit economic benefits. No, that's where it gets funny. You control, you own the trust assets on behalf of beneficiaries. It gets very funny. So you control and own the trust assets, but however, you cannot benefit from that ownership. You don't have economic beneficial ownership from that ownership. You understand? You cannot benefit because you're not a beneficiary unless you're a trustee and then beneficiary at the same time. Therefore, after the assessment of the discretion of the what is this? After the discretion and the discussion and the judgment of the trustees, therefore, and then they distribute something and they vest something onto you, then only then you can benefit. Okay? So that is very, very key. And it brings us to exactly this. Who is going to enjoy the beneficial owner? Is these beneficiaries here. Who control and own the trust assets or the estate is trustee. So tomorrow, I don't want a situation where you come, you register a trust, very important, and you do as you please. It doesn't work, guys. Please. Respect. If you want to come and create wealth, preserve wealth, transfer wealth, no matter how little the wealth is, you need to respect these principles here. And I know it's not that easy. We see it a lot with companies where people do as they please with companies. What do you call this thing? Companies' wealth. They just swipe as they please. And yeah, if you're to get audited by SAR, it's going to be very fun. Eh? Good luck. So make sure you respect this. Once you respect this, you are not going to be a silent trustee. You are not going to how do I put this? You are not going to do as you please. You're going to have meetings before you let's say you want to buy a property. You're going to engage other trustees before you go. You're gonna seek approval because you can't go and you can't go and find a property and then you call Shillyboy and say, Shillyboy, I just want you to sign here. Oh man, I'm not gonna do that. Not. When did we act jointly about making sure that this trust is going to actually incur that? When did we discuss that? Do you see where I'm going? So anything that has to do with trust must be decided by all the trustees. We must act jointly. Otherwise, I become what you call silent trustee, and that's how we get into trouble. Okay? That's how you get into trouble. Okay? Now, let's move on. So, when you form a trust, guys, or when you become, some of you guys are going to be trustees, especially now that, there's like Black Empowerment, Employee Share Scheme, Trust, and all these things, be trust within your companies. You can be appointed as a trustee as you get higher and higher as what do you call these things? Executive level. You might be appointed as a trustee of one of the trusts, or for that matter, you could be a trustee of your family trust, or your friends asking you to be a trustee. These are some of the things you need to ask yourself. What are the intentions of this founder? Ask yourself, Chief, my sister, when you are forming a trust, have a meeting with this person. What were you thinking? So that you understand if you're not going to find yourself between the fights. These are, I'm just use this as what's this thing? To sort of indicate family fights. There are family fights, by the way. So they could erupt. When you understand the thinking and you underwent understanding of the founder, you will be able to manage any potential family feuds. You're also able to understand the beneficiaries and act in the best interest of the beneficiaries. Also, you'll ensure that you avoid conflict of interest, because you don't want to find yourself We are discussing there as trustees. We found an opportunity that you can see that, yes, this property deal can be bankable. And next thing, jiggy, because you see that opportunity, you start to say, no, it's not in the best interest of the trust. Then next thing, a day later, you're the one running with that deal. You don't want to find yourself in that, right? Or you don't want to find yourself in a conflicted in a sense that you are, say, financial advisor, you want this trust to take on some endowment, even though you know that it's not in the best interest of the beneficiary. It's not going to give them sufficient return, just merely because you are going to collect those financial advisory fees. That's conflict of interest that we're talking about, because these beneficiaries can come and sue you. You understand? They can come and sue you. So you also need to be aware of the creditors of the trust. The likes of SARS, it can be creditors. So you need to ensure that you understand. It's the same thing as companies, the same thing as we're just bringing it now to your awareness, right? You also need to understand your responsibilities as trustees in relation to the Master of High Court. There's a new changes that are going on up and downs that trying to formalize trust world. So our point of reporting will be Master of High Court as compared to companies. Companies, we all know they report to the Department of Trade and Industry through CIPC, right? So the trusts are going to report. So don't get overwhelmed also. It's just a reporting. It's just that it has been neglected, and therefore we are moving towards more of professionalizing the trust environment. You will see there'll be portals and all these things, fancy things that are starting to going to be implemented, because these are changes that just happened this year, right? So you're going to see there's a lot of reporting that is going to be happening with trust to SARS, which it was not being done in the past, but companies have been reporting. People have been neglecting trust. They'll leave it. You know, someone will register a trust and disappear, like, like they'll disappear for 10 years, and they come, next thing they come and reach out to Shillyboy and say, Shillyboy, yo, I've got trust, man. I've registered this trust 15 years ago. Can you please help? You're like, I'm not getting involved. Okay, right. So be aware as trustee. When you're forming a trust, understand it's the same thing as company. Don't get overwhelmed. It's the same. It just the problems that we used to neglect trust. That's why now we are emphasizing this. It feels like we're moving away from status quo because we're lazy. If I'm going to be blind, we're not respecting the trust world as compared to companies. So now we're seeing a lot of changes that are popping up because the authorities have seen that a lot of trusts are not compliant. So now they're trying to make sure that there's a professional compliance around trust environment. But you as a founder, you as a trustee, make sure you manage all these. These are not exhausted lists, by the way. Just think the same way you'll manage efficiently your company. Think, because here we're talking about creating, preserve, and transfer of wealth. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to lose your wealth. The same way of wealth of the companies, you're going to lose wealth. So we don't want you to lose wealth unnecessarily just because of lack of being sound, having a sound administrative, like poor administrations. We don't want that. Okay. So now let's keep going. Okay. Now, what are we finding out there with court cases that are mushrooming lately? Because more and more people are creating wealth, by the way. More and more people are creating wealth, more and more people, when they're still in love and married, they've come to say, Shillyboy, we want to have a family trust. I'm like, yes, serious. Okay. What are you guys going to do? No, we're buying properties. We're married. We're young professionals. We're doctors, not doctor, the famous doctors, but, the doctors. And then next thing, like any other life, divorce is part and parcel of life. Now, next thing, you as a family have been neglecting the trust deed, have not been understanding or running things in in alliance with trustee. What is trustee in relation to company? It's MOI, the memorandum of incorporation, right? It's the same thing. So some of us, if I were to ask you right now, when last did you read your MOI? Yeah, when last did you read it? Probably you just registered a company, you never read it. Most of us don't do that. And that's why when we get to the date of divorce, we found that our behavior and our decisions were not in line with the trust deed. Therefore, we find that that trust actually is just an alter ego. It really never existed, because our lifestyle, whether we had a trust or not, remained the same. Would you say you had a trust? It's a shame. It's a shame. Trust never existed, right? Just there on paper, but you never really intended to have a trust. So some of the trust, I see the question also in the chat box, someone is asking, what is the minimum of the trustees? Guys, in South Africa, you can't have one trustee and then who's also a beneficiary. It can't, right? Which means that you need, if you are in that situation where you've got all the trustees are also beneficiary, you'll need an independent outsider. So you can have as minimum, but what you can have as many as you can, but at minimum, you will need probably 2. And if those people are sort of beneficiaries and trustees, then you need an outsider. So which means technically minimum will be 3. So it all depends on the composition of the trustees. But also look at what your read trustee, guys, read. Even if it takes you a month, at least just scan through it. Read it so that you know what is the minimum number of trustees in your own trust that is required. Because I could stipulate and say, I need a minimum of 5 in my trust. So which means that that trust cannot bind if it doesn't have, it cannot transact. The sub-minimum trustees, the remaining trustees cannot bind the trust because we don't meet the required minimum trustees that are required in the trust to function. That's the thing. You find that you fire Shillyboy as an independent trustees and you're thinking that your trust will function. It's not going to function. This is where you find that you find yourself getting yourself into trouble. So read. If you're going to create wealth, you're going to have to love reading, by the way. It's very, most of people who created wealth because and then they never liked reading, they lost wealth through contracts. That's why we're saying most of wealth, legal contracts and tax are one of the reasons why people don't move their wealth to the next generation. So if you want to preserve your wealth, please read. Please read. If you don't understand, then ask people. Like I said, you need an independent trustee. Where the master directive said in 2017 that was issued was that where the trust has what you call family, is a family business trust. What is that? It means the trustees are beneficiaries and are related to each other. So therefore, you need an independent outsider, which we call now an independent trustee. It's required by law. You can't register that trust where beneficiaries are related, the trustees are related and are equally so are beneficiaries. That's what we call family business trust. And those trustees, according to the trust deed, can bind the trust in terms of they can raise debt, like they can buy properties through bonds and things like that. Therefore, then that is what you call family business trust. That trust cannot be registered with the Master of High Court if there's no independent outsider. So be aware of basic things like that. You don't have to be a technical person to know things like this. Okay? So, like I said, let's avoid being silent trustees. Because these days, it's like being a silent director. Next thing, the company did a fraudulent thing and you're at the state capture there and they're asking a question. You say, hey, Shillyboy, you signed here. You like, I thought I was approving what. They're like, Shillyboy, but you're a CA. You know, those judges, they can embarrass you. So read, guys. Read all these documents that you're signing, please. Like I said, doesn't have a legal persona. The trust estate gets bestowed to get vested on trustees, but they don't have the economic benefits. It's a very funny legal thing that you just need to know that. Okay, the administration is by trustees, and we can always delegate certain things, but we need to have approved within these things. So the trustees must, obviously, they've got joint ownership of the trust estate and must act jointly. Exactly what I just narrated earlier on, so we don't have to repeat ourselves in the interest of time. So we can only act through trust instrument. Trust instrument is the trust deed. So you can never do things that are not within the trust deed, guys. You can't decide if the trust was formed only to buy properties. You cannot come and then start investing in cryptocurrency. It doesn't work like that. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's not, please. Okay? Let's be clear. If we're serious about creating wealth and preserving wealth, then we need to respect that. It's as simple as that. These are things that I'm saying, I summarize these things from some of the court cases that we read. And these are lessons that we found that some trustees got into trouble, some beneficiaries got into trouble because they never respected some of these things, right? So we don't want you to lose wealth by not understanding things like this, right? Because you're working hard, guys. How many properties have you viewed? You know, you're traveling, meeting, you're paying membership of financial wellness activist ecosystem, and we're building, we introduce you to people who have dinners with senior executives in, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be having dinners with senior executives within the property sector as we grow and grow quietly, so without making too much noise. So now you can't be engaging in those things not knowing how to have an efficient investment structure and yeah, let's take ourselves serious and create wealth, guys. Okay. Now, some of the things, it's exactly there to say trustee bind the trust estate. So whatever it's in a trust deed, obviously this is the one that is going to bind the what do you call the trust estates. So we act within the trust deed, and then it binds the trust estate. Okay. So what happens if we don't have capacity? What happens if we don't have sub-minimum? We don't have the minimum required trust. Does the trust cease to exist? No, it doesn't. Even the obligation don't fall away. So you still need to pay those municipalities, but you cannot enter. You cannot enter into new contracts. So that's very key thing. The fact that we don't have minimum required trustees, we cannot enter into new relationships. You understand? Because we're not allowed. But the obligations that you have should not fall away. You must continue to pay municipalities. You must continue paying operational expenses as required. But you cannot then go and say, we're changing offices. I don't like these offices, Pella. Now I want to be in Santen. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? So I'm just going to go through this. And the trust, obviously, the Master of High Court can appoint the trustees if they feel that, especially now where they're going to start having information, they can eventually start having an influence on the trust and then start appointing the what do you call? I'm just gonna scan through quickly because I'm looking at the time. We are running out of time. Okay. So now let's quickly, some of the common mistakes that we have found is that founders acting without consulting other trustees. Guys, please, I beg. Okay. The fact that you founded the trust does not mean it's yours. Does not mean that you must do as you please. No. Let's not do that. Okay. Make life easy for us, some of us who normally act as independent trustees. Make it easy so that I don't have to reprimand you all the time. And then I look like I'm just this big-headed person. No, it's the law. I know it's painful, but it's the law. And it helps you to preserve wealth, by the way. Okay? So let's ensure that we also don't reserve powers in wills and things like that in our trust deed, because then you are basically rendering trust a sham or an extension of yourself. Because if you still controlling the trust. You should not be seen to be controlling a trust. That's very key. You should not. As a founder, don't do that. Don't do it. That trust, the day you divorce, your wife or your husband just leaves you. And they know that this one, they do as they please. The day divorce comes, and you find that you're married out of commitment of property, they want to sue you. They pull all those, they record all these things, the behavior that you have been misbehaving, not consulting with Shillyboy. That's what they did in one of the court cases. And then they pulled everything, say, this chap never even consulted his brother. He did this, even when he went to apply for credit card, he listed the trust asset as his trust assets, as his assets. And then they rendered that trust that is an alter ego, and then the assets that were in the trust, they became part of divorce settlement. You don't want to find yourself there. And it's simple, just stay away. Just stay away from a trust. You will see your things will be clean. You will be clean. Right? The important notion here is in the acting in the best interests of others, which are beneficiaries. Stop the beneficiaries having a control. Whereas when they're trustees, let them not have a control of the trust. Okay. I'm telling you, you'll preserve wealth to the, I don't know for how many generations, once you respect things like this. And get used to read, guys. Get used to read a lot of documents around trust, especially if you've got wealth. Read what's going on. There's simplified articles out there, you know. Just read and read and read and read, and then you'll be fine. Someone says, can I convert a registered private company? No, you can't. A trust and a company are two different things. But that's a very interesting question. What type of assets do I put in a trust? Should I consider before I put it? That's exactly what we said, Jelle. That's exactly what I said. Why do you need to have a trust? Why do you need to have a company? Why do you need to have a partnership? Why do you need to have a joint venture? Ask yourself that. Don't overwhelm yourself, guys, with the notion of a trust. It's just an instrument. Don't give it too much respect. Right? Let's not give it too much respect, because then we're thinking that is this animal that is scary? No, it's just an instrument that is very nice. No, by the way, a trust is a very brilliant instrument if you respect it. It's a brilliant instrument. Currently, is the most brilliant instrument that protects wealth. It separates you from wealth. Those are benefits that are there. It can protect your wealth. It has a beautiful continuity. You know, it has brilliant continuity of wealth. As long as you respect it. I'm telling you. Okay? So this is a directive that we spoke about. The master issued this directive in 2017, rather, where they're saying where a trust is what you call family business trust, which means that the trustees are beneficiaries and beneficiaries are related to each other, and trustees could enter into debts transaction as per the trust instrument. What is the trust instrument? There's the trustee, the one that we spoke about. So then you'll need to have an independent trustee, the likes of Shillyboy, who we Intergen. I run a company called Intergen Private Wealth. So we use it to act as independent trustees, because corporates also can, but obviously then it would be a person there who then do that. What is this independent trustee? Obviously, it could be, doesn't need to be a professional, but you obviously expect, especially now that trusts operate in a more legal environment, you'll want to have someone who understands trust well. The legislation and all these new developments is up to date. Is a member of some body, like I'm a member of Fiduciary Institute of Southern Africa, where we talk about fiduciary services and things like that, changes what is happening out there. We discuss with people, we engage on a regular basis. So you cannot just take your friend and put them there and they know nothing. It's the blind leading the blind, and then you all fall into the whatever cave you. I don't know. What do they say in English? But you get me, right? So as much as they say independent trustee, no need to be a professional, but my view is that you need someone who's knowledgeable. Responsibility realization, trust functions properly. The independent trustee is there to guide, but doesn't mean is different to other trustees. You're all the same, but sometimes as family trustees, we don't know much about the law. Same as even Companies Act. I don't know how many of us have got companies, but we know nothing about Companies Act. I mean, that's just a reality. So it's the same thing. Can you see that it's the same thing? It's the same thing. It's purely the same thing. Just that the trust has always been seen as this instrument for the wealthy, and it's very respected and all these things. But it's the same thing as company. Most of us don't even know what Companies Act says. We don't know. But we've got how many companies? You find that we've got even 20 dormant companies. Okay. Trusted provision observed. So independent trustees will ensure that their trustees, their fellow trustees, also observe the provisions of the trustee, that the conduct of trustees who lack sufficiently independent interest in the observance of substantive and procedural requirements arising from the trustees can be scrutinized and checked. Check and balances. You need someone who's going to whip, and it's going to not be nice to and be conflicted with the founder. And you need someone who's going to be independent in mind, independent in appearance, to help you preserve wealth. It doesn't mean they hate you. They just help you to preserve wealth. But even you must learn about what it means to be a director. Guys, when you've got companies, learn what it means to be a director. Attend all these short courses about governance and all these things. As long as you want to build and create wealth, just take upon yourself to learn. Learn more. Okay. So that is basically what we're saying. So there's this principle that is an olden age principle, what you call Conjured Pie principle, and it's still very beneficial. So some people then will just buy one or two properties, and this is one of the brilliant thing about trust. Let's say you bought shares here, and then it's dividends, then the money just comes into the trust and then goes directly to the kids. So the kids are the ones then that gets taxed. So it's a very nice, and then after that, the kids are the ones who then pay SARS. You understand? So it's what we call Conjured Pie principle. So, and these kids can end up taking some. I'm not financial advisor. I'm not advising you to take these products. I'm just giving you as an example to say it could be anything. The kids could. It's a nice way also to pass on wealth. The one who was asking what type of assets you put in trust can put any assets you think you deem fit. It's a discussion of the trustees to say what assets should we be investing in. It's like a company. It's like me asking. It's like you asking a question to say what type of assets should I be putting in a company. It's just the same. It's the same question. You can put anything you want. Same ways with company. You can put anything in a company. But you obviously need to do investment assessment. You need to ask you as trustees, you need to look at various things. Why are we investing? Why are we using a trust? Why are we using a company? How many of us even ask ourselves those questions? Have you ever asked yourself, why are you using a company? Because those are the type of questions that you need to ask yourself. Why are you using a company? Why not sole trader? Why not a partnership? How many of us are in business with our friends and we're using partnerships? Why are you using partnership? Why not use partnership instead of a company? I'm just asking. Those are questions that you should be asking, but we never get to that point. And the purpose of this thing is to train you to start questioning your decisions. You need to question your decisions, okay? So ensure you question your decisions. What is new out there? This is exactly what I'm going to be updating. So I just need snippets. So I'll be going to the detail next week with the financial wellness activist. So there's a changes that happens around Trust Property Control Act. Even Companies Act, there's a changes that just took place because of, there are changes around companies that took place also recently. The requirements for the trust to have asset registers, bank account, to register as taxpayer. Most trusts never registered with SARS because the nice thing, imagine if CIPC system was not linked with SARS system, how many companies were not going to be registered with SARS? Yeah. So, and that's what they're going to do now. So the master's portal is going to be linked with SARS so that when a trust is registered, SARS can have access to those trusts. I'm predicting that we're gonna have a scenario, and which would be nice, like would be great, where a trust, because then it will remove a lot of manual paper that is happening. There's too much manual system going on within the trust world. So we are most likely going to see a situation where when you register a trust and then it automatically then have a tax number. We are most likely, and I love that because then it makes it easy. Then maybe some of us will stop being scared of this trust. So there's also changes around the registers, around the beneficial owners and things like that. These are changes that just happened last month, guys. So if you've got a trust, be aware of these type of changes. Be on a lookout. There's a requirement for reporting that is going to be happening with trust because people have not been reporting. The reason why there's now requirements is because people have been not disclosing to SARS. It's not because it's a bad thing. It's not like it's a serious new thing. No, they're just trying to see how do we get people to comply. How do we get people to submit information as they were required? So it's just to strengthen compliance, if you get me, because people have not doing that. That is just the truth, guys. People have been not doing that. People are doing that with companies because companies SARS system already pick up. Once you register a company with the CIPC, it picks up your information. So that's why people will then report with companies. But anyway, even companies, some people, I mean, if I were to ask you right now, how many of you guys have got dormant companies and when last did you submit the tax returns for those dormant companies? I can assure you, most people don't submit tax returns. So there's what we call accountable institutions. Trusts have been included. Please look into that also. Be aware of money laundering legislations. You, as a trustee, please read some articles that are out there, the analysts and everyone that reads types out and writes about these things. Please read and read. There are responsibilities around beneficial owners, details, information to be kept up to date. Please be as soon as such information, the registers, it gets issued from the Master of High Court within the portal. Be aware. I see CIPC has issued that, by the way. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the changes around beneficial owners reporting with the CIPC for companies. I don't know if you saw that. There's a requirements, by the way. If you've got a company, guys, there's new requirements similar to this one. So it's not the changes around the trust alone. Also for companies, there's a if you've got a link. If you've got a customer account on CIPC, there's if you click you log in at the bottom there within the services, under the services, you'll see there's a update of the beneficial owners. They're starting to require those information to update those information on a regular basis. So be aware. These are changes that popped up with companies, trusts, anything. Public benefit organization, I think, I'm not sure if they're exempted, but companies I know because I even have the documents for it. So changes are happening. So as long as you're creating wealth, you don't want to find yourself on a back foot. Okay, colleagues? But if you need help, obviously, you can reach out and it's also going to require you guys to have a systems within, if you've got trust or if you've got companies, you're gonna need to have systems so that you preserve your wealth. And the need for independent trustees and all these things. Have systems, guys. Have basic systems so that you don't drop the ball, even for companies, guys. So what is going to happen is that we'll be required to report to SARS as trustees now on distributions and money we got from the trust, the money that trust gets. So it's going to be required to report back to them to SARS, like the IRP5s, things like that. the banks are required to report on investment incomes, things like that. You remember those third-party information when you submit your tax returns. Exactly. So even the trustees are going to be required to submit such, but we're still waiting for sort of documents on how we're going to report that kind of information to SARS. I saw even the guys who are solar installers are required now to submit the COC, and I don't think some of these guys are aware of things like that. Yeah, there's just so much changes that are happening out there. So read as long as you are creating wealth. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's sufficient knowledge. And thank you so much. If you've got you need help, you can contact me on 074-589-6439. You can email me, and if you've got questions. So I'm gonna open up. If you've got questions, you can raise your hands. Let's take on questions. For the next 10 minutes or so. And I'm gonna start with some of the questions that are on the chat box. Yes, I'm gonna start with questions on the chat box. By the way, before I forget, there are also workshops that are coming up, 2-day workshops. If you're in Durban, if you are in Johannesburg, we've got 2-day workshops. We're going to be talking about trust in detailed changes there, tax planning, retirement planning, property investing, running numbers as property investors. So be on the lookout. Ask me about the details. I'm going to share them, but let me quickly, before I forget, let me answer the questions. So many questions, guys. Let's quickly go. That one we answered. We can hear you. I'm able to hear. Okay, can hear you. Okay, noted. I'll check on my side. Sorted. Well done. Malaya says I have a problem with network in my. Okay. Vincent says, Shillyboy, I'm under lotion and it's raining with lightning, so I might off. Okay, that's fine. Sylvan said, good evening. Can I be the founder, the trustee, and the beneficiary of the trust? Yes, you can. We answered that. You can be a founder, the trustee, and the beneficiary of the trust. But then, like I said earlier, you will need an independent person. Yes, you'll need an independent person to sit with you as trustees. Even a minimum number of trustees allowed. We explain this in detail, guys. Do trustees get paid? Yes. I mean, that's like you being a director. You're waking Pella. Guys, how are we gonna have lights? I mean, how are we gonna come on, guys? Bongegil, please. It's not sorry Bongegil, Kumozo pay people. That's why it's necessary, guys, to have all these things when you are serious about making money. And that's exactly why we're creating financial wellness activities, so that our members don't struggle to maintain their investments, because the investment structures are necessary. Trust is necessary. I can assure you that. But you need to be making money to maintain the trust, so they don't have to worry about these fees on a monthly basis. And how do we do that? Then we're creating this ecosystem to help each other. You will see, we're moving, team. We're moving. 1 or 2 people are moving with them. I saw they are already members. We're moving. Good evening. What if the trustees are my kids? They need to be, in South Africa, you can't be a part of the contract. You don't have a legal contracting capacity if you are what do you call, what is this thing? You're not more than 18 years old. Yes. Can I transfer an outstanding property into a trust and continue paying the home loan under my personal account? Why would you do that? Can the beneficiary? Yes, they can be. I'm not sure why would you do that. What is the logic for that? Komozo, I don't understand your question. There's no logic in what you're trying to achieve. But you can transfer the property into the trust. You have to analyze why you want to do that. But then the bond will have to shift, because the bank, what the bank will do, will then assess the bond under the trust. And they'll assess the trustee because the trust doesn't have anything, is failing you. It's the same thing it's the same concept as company. So when a company is failing you, the banks, what they do, they assess the directors. So the same thing with the trust, they will assess the trustee because the trust doesn't have anything. What type of asset do I put in a trust? What should I consider before I put? Analyze why you want to have those, the type of tax that you're going to pay, the type of income the trust is going to generate. You can put any asset. You can put a car. It's up to you. Why do you want to have that? It's the same thing, like I said. Why do you need to have a company? Okay, so it's the same thinking. Let's not give trust. What I'm trying to deal with here is the stigma and the myth around trust. Trusts are just instruments, but very important, very, very important. I love them. We answered that question. What are the costs of running a trust? It depends on, okay, let me talk about us. We've got a special going on for 5.5 for trust. If you need a trust right now, we're running a special for 5.5. And then it depends on the value of the trust, if it's making money, because the more you make money, the more responsibilities. You'll agree with me. The more you make money, the more responsibilities that comes with that. It's the same thing as company. If you are a director of APSA, it's not the same as being a director of Shillyboy. I mean, you understand? I mean, the guys are getting paid like 40 million a year. So you understand where I'm going. So, but at minimum, you're looking at about 550 a month, things like that. 550 for independent trustees, and then accounting. It could be retainer or as and when you need services, things like that. Can a trust borrow money from a bank to buy it? Definitely. You can borrow. Definitely. Can I change shareholder of a P12 from myself to the trust? Yes, perfectly. You can do that. As XR, definitely, you can do that. That can be done. And that's exactly why then you remove wealth from yourself to the trust. Continuity. Exactly. So that when you pass on, because you're going to die, when you pass on, the trust, the wealth just continue. It doesn't get frozen. It's not part of disease estates. Doesn't undergo administration and all these things, unnecessary delays. No, we just move on, right? We just move on. We move on. We definitely move on. Who's tax for the transaction? Is the trust. So it's a very funny thing in South Africa. Trust doesn't have legal persona in terms of contracting, right? We see the trustees. The trustees are the ones that contract. But then from tax point of view, trust has a legal persona. It's a person as defined under Section 1. Under the definition of a person's, trust is that. So trust is the one that gets taxed. It's a very funny thing. It's a very funny thing that is happening out there. Does the company need trustees' permission to buy property? No. So what then happens with Dumel is that because if that company is owned by the trust, you'll understand that certain decisions as shareholders will typically want to know what's happening in their assets. You'll agree with me. It's like you in South Africa, where you've got a South African company that is owned by a foreign company. Sometimes these South African directors will report to the foreign shareholder. So it's the same thing where you'll find that your company, you'll sometimes report to the trustees on what's happening within them. I like your questions, guys. They're brilliant. In fact, I'm going to try to see if I can. They're very beautiful. Thank you so much for engaging. I love this. Thank you so much. Your questions are brilliant. Well done. You show that you're listening. Thank you. And then someone says, Chele says, what to do if you pay the company but they fail to issue invoice as you need for your tax returns? Uh, eh, eh. No, I mean, they must issue it. They must, I mean, you must, yeah, I mean, just try to speak to them. I mean, that is not, it's very difficult one. I don't know. I don't have answer. I mean, I'll try to reach out. I'll try to see what, yeah, I mean, I'll try to reach out and try to resolve the matter with whoever I interacted with. When should one consider opening a trust? When assets are above what value? It's not issue of value. It's an issue of your circumstances. There are people that will have no assets at this stage, but then you find that they're building a trademark, for instance. You know, a trademark can be worth nothing today, but in 6 months' time, you find that it's worth billions. So such people, they put those trademarks in trust immediately. Boom. Right? They literally move those trust in what do you call it? Guys, my battery is dying. You're load shedding, guys. So I might, yeah, we need to quickly drop off. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Can I transfer bonded properties into the trust and still pay on a monthly basis? We answered that, Mohadi, and to say yes, but then you can, if the trust doesn't have money, then you might have to transfer money on a monthly basis into the trust, or you can decide on where the debit order. I know the banks don't care as long as the bond is paid. Is there special for 2 trusts or only 1 trust? No, Monk, it's 1 trust. No, definitely 1 trust. The 5.5 guys is special is for 1 trust, not for 2 trusts. And then, guys, if you need a special, the one that we have, send me a WhatsApp on 074. But you all have my number, 074-589-6439. You can send me a WhatsApp if you need you need to take the special. Also, if you want to join our financial wellness activist ecosystem as I presented, let me know, and then you can join us. As someone says, as you stated, that the trust is not that special vehicle or monster, what circumstances lead to opening a trust? No, it's special, but I'm trying to make you guys not be scared of it, not to see it as this scary animal. But trust helps. The biggest thing that trust helps us is continuity, because no one owns what is within the trust, no one. And also it allows us to stay away from the wealth of the trust, so that should I get into trouble in my personal capacity, the wealth is protected. As long as I respect the governance around the trust, then I'm protected. This is one of the biggest benefits that you'll find within the trust. That's why it's so special. It's special, but it shouldn't be scary. That's what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't scare you. Someone says, do you know if there's ever been a case in court where the assets in the trust were disputed, argued, and seen hiding as a joint? Yeah, a lot. There's a lot of cases. There's a lot of cases. That's exactly some of the things that I use. Guys, my battery is switching off. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. With load shedding, and it can switch off anytime, guys. If you need any help from me, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Send me a WhatsApp, 074-589-6439. If you want to be part of the ecosystem, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and join our ecosystem, the membership. I'm going to share on the WhatsApp group. And if you also want to, if you want to know about those, you reach out to me. Send me a WhatsApp if you've got queries around our ecosystem, and also you want to take advantage of our special trust for 5.5. So reach out to me, send me a WhatsApp on 074-589-6439, or email me. Reach out to me if you need help with taxes. If you've got tax problems with SARS, by the way, we are the best tax disputes. Send me email if you've got tax problems. I'm more than happy to reach out to you to help you. If you need to take advantage of our trust specials, 5.5, reach out to me. Also, if you want to join our financial wellness activist ecosystem, reach out to me, and then you'll decide which package you want to take. And then I'll share those packages again on our WhatsApp group. If you are not part of a WhatsApp group, let me know, the main WhatsApp group, the general one. If you are not part of it, let me know, then we'll add you. And then I'll send the details on it. And then, yeah, we're good to go. Yeah, right? So anything else, send me a WhatsApp and then we can take it from there. My battery is switching off right now. Good evening, good night.